Oh, okay. You got one back there.
Thank you.
Hello, Mariano.
Good, how are you?
Right away. Goldfish aware for the first thing.
you can't see it from the road, so yeah.
You're closed on Monday.
Call meeting to order. Shelley, can do roll call, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Rios? Absent. 2, Councilman Pastor.
Present.
District 3, Councilman Leatham.
Present.
District 4, Vice Mayor Stapleton.
Here.
District 6, Councilman Shipley.
Here.
Mayor Gameros.
Here.
We have a report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Shelley. I want to invite Chief Robinson up for the invocation, please. Fernando, can you send it?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda, we'll have the loyalty oath, and it'll be administered to Mariano Gonzales, new council, District 5 councilman, appointee, and this will be with Honorable Judge John Perlman. And is your person here? Okay. Gonna meet you down there.
Right here.
Mayor, on my pleasure.
We just want to thank Mariano for stepping up again to this position, appointed position, and we thank you for stepping up to fill that. And the next would be seating of the newly appointed council, Mariano. What I'd like to do is I'd like to move Freddie over one seat, and I'd like to move Fernando over, and I give you the end seat over there, Mariano. Okay? Yeah. That's good.
and I'm glad you're doing that.
Well, Shelley and Linda are working on the name tags. We will go ahead and read the first community call to the public. Again, this is a time when anybody from the public would like to speak to the council. Time limit is 3 minutes. At this time, the council cannot respond to any comments, but can give direction to staff. This is also a time if anybody wants to speak on an agenda item, please turn in a speaker card, and you'll be acknowledged when that agenda item comes up. Oh, sorry, I did miss this. I skipped that. We have a council member current events. I'm sorry. So I'm going to start with Mike down there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't really have anything today other than heating up and just everybody stay hydrated.
Jesse?
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing.
Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to congratulate all the graduates. Not only Globe, but my wish them the best. Welcome to adult. Right?
Yeah, right.
And then I just want to give a shout out to Public Works. Go to work very early. Always see out watering trees, cleaning the streets, garbage. Give your crew a shout out for me. And also fire department. We had that fire over in Copper Hills. Phenomenal job taking care of it. Pass that word along. Also, highway, Devil's Canyon, Thursday, I believe. And,
Thank you, Mike. Mariano, you have anything to report?
Couple things. Shelley, go ahead and put those pictures up, please. Thank you. Over the weekend, I was asked to judge the beef cook-off sponsored by the U of A Cooperative Extension in conjunction with the local 4-H club. And I thought they were just going to make hamburgers and a few other things and we'd be done with it. It was an all-day affair out there at the fairgrounds. About 40 kids, 2 sets of judges. They had to know everything about what they were making and explain it to one set of judges, and the other set of judges, I love that picture, one set of judges did the actual walkthrough of what the kids were doing. The morning session were the older kids, and it was a contest for scoring points. This is done at the 4-H building out at the fairgrounds. They have a large canopy outside, and it's all done with barbecue grills. So their recipes would give you a run for your money, let me tell you. Very creative. There was a pineapple salsa mix that was just out of this world. That was the morning session. The afternoon session were the little kids, and yes, they were supervised, and parents, and by the way, the parents were not allowed to do the help to the morning session, the older kids. The afternoon session, yes, there were kids supervised by parents, and they had their own recipes, but basically the same rules. You had to explain your product, what you were bringing up to the judges, and the afternoon session stole my heart because those little girls, they were something. They were cute as a button. They all were. And I got to the end of the day, and Karen Donaldson, who is the sponsor and coordinator for this particular annual event, I asked her, you have a good crowd out here, and it is the fairgrounds, but would you consider doing this in downtown Globe next year? And she said, we'd love to. And I asked her to get in touch with city staff. Paul, you're going to get a phone call.
Okay.
And maybe we can accommodate them somewhere downtown. But because it was just precious to see the little kids especially. And 2 sets of judges working on this. Look at that platter. Isn't that neat? Very creative, very tasty, very surprising. I was just, like I said, expecting a hamburger and maybe some French fries. They know what they're doing. The other thing I want to talk about real quick, Mr. Gameros, Mr. Mayor, this is what I received a reward for being a judge. I'm going to talk about it for just a minute. It is a coffee cup, but the etching is done by the students in the 4-H group in Payson using an electronic printer, and this is their fundraiser. Pass that down, sir. They are getting ready through the U of A to donate one to the kids in the southern half. So I'm encouraging anyone who's interested in supporting this particular piece of equipment. They're looking for a place to put it, possibly at Gila Pueblo, whoever wants to donate time and effort to this project. These things are designed by the kids in Payson from start to finish. They don't build the cup, but they certainly use their skills and are taught those skills to make that particular coffee cup. And this is their fundraiser. And the U of A is interested in pursuing this down here in the southern region. I was stunned when I got that. I thought it came from a manufacturer. None of the kids designed this and did it. So you talk about good things happening in the region, here's a possibility. And all the reproductive companies in the region, Reprographics, et cetera, they need to consider talking to Karen Donaldson about this project that could be done in the South. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mariano.
Thank you.
Fernando?
I really don't have anything to report, Mayor.
Thank you. Freddie?
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I want to apologize for stepping in a little bit late. I'm glad I was here to see the swearing in for Mr. Gonzales, and welcome to the team. Congratulations. Also want to give a shout out to all the graduates in the region, Miami Globe, Liberty, San Carlos, all the high schools, and even all the little ones, the kindergarten graduates. I've seen some pictures of them, so those are always special moments. So congratulations to all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Freddie. I have a couple of things also. Shout out to all the graduates in Globe Miami also. Congratulations. I want to first talk about the community wildland survey that's out there right now. It's on the website, either the counties. I also put it on my Facebook account. It's to update the wildland survey, and it's very important. Northern Gila County has done an excellent job in filling out, putting their input on this survey, but Southern Gila County is really lacking behind. And we need Globe Miami, we need Hayden, Winkleman, Tonto Basin. We need people from the south to put their input. Our state is in severe drought, and it's important that we update this plan on a regular basis to keep us abreast of everything that's going on. So please take about 5 minutes, fill the survey out, go to the county website, or you can go to my Facebook, and also I have the site on there. Also, I did post today the flat tax bill that is being proposed at the legislature. It's a 2.5% tax bill. And what it means to us as a city, we could stand to lose $360,000 a year for the next 10 years to pay this debit off. So it would really cripple the small communities. Governor Ducey says that we'll benefit, the cities will benefit, but those are the larger cities that seen growth in population and housing and everything. So we would not, rural communities would not. So I have Governor Ducey's phone number on my Facebook. Please call him, tell him you're opposing it. I also want to take the opportunity also to thank Representative Dave Cook and Representative Frank Pratt, who are against the bill, and they have come out publicly announcing that. They are getting a tremendous amount of pressure from their party to vote for the bill. The governor needs 31 votes. And if he gets that, this bill will move on to a third read. And once it gets to a third read, it's really hard to stop after that. So please thank Dave Cook, Frank Pratt, tell them to stand strong to support rural communities in Globe. And also this Thursday on the 27th from 9 to 4, the City of Globe and the Gila County Health Department is going to work together and offer serology testing, antibody testing here in these chambers. So if you want to come by, it takes about 10 minutes. Whether you've been vaccinated or not, you can find out what your antibody levels are on the COVID. So it'll be here from 9 to 4. No appointments needed. I think you can call in early and try and set up appointments, but I think you come by and I think they'll move it pretty smoothly. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, were you going to check with the rest of the council?
We did.
Okay, I wasn't. Okay. The, Mr. Mayor, members of council, the a couple things. On the flat tax, we want to make sure that the hold harmless number is 18.9%. Okay, if they raise, if they are to make this change with this 1.5 billion cut to 1.9 billion cut, if they will increase the state shared portion from 15% of what they collect to 18.9%, that would make sure that we continue to get what we were promised in 1970.
Thought it was 19.8.
I had it backwards.
Oh, you had it back?
I had it backwards. I checked with the league. 18.9 is the number. I think I was saying 19.8. The national. I just wanted a quick story on the budget on the agenda tonight is a ratification of a grant that we are applying for the National Endowment of the Humanities. At some point, I'm not even sure who it was. I think it was Leanne said, "Hey, there's a grant out there, but it's due in 10 days." And I'm like, "Okay." And so we pulled together a team with Jerry and Linda, and I don't know who else. They'll talk about it. And it's for $300,000, almost $300,000. And within about 10 days' time, they scrambled and got everything together. It was a complex grant. A lot of you saw the packet, and so kudos to the team for just not letting time or anything get in the way, and they got it together, and it's on the agenda to be ratified. You'll see the beginnings of 2 new stop signs on Mesquite, so that's very exciting. Traffic's picked up, business is picked up in that corner, and so we're, as council requested, we have those stop signs going up. It's more than just sticking a sign in the ground. You got to do some concrete work and make it right and safe. Everybody needs to, when those go up, it'll take a little while for everybody to get used to it. So you may have some, everybody be careful in the area. We'll put signs that change the signals, but that's real exciting too, and you'll see that happening. Last thing, the COVID team met this morning, and after tomorrow morning, we'll be rolling out with staff and making some changes in our COVID requirements. We will go to, and unless I hear something tonight, our recommendations are we go to for people coming into city facilities, library, museum, water office, and magistrate, that we ask, we are encouraging masks be worn for people who are not fully vaccinated. So we're changing requirements to encouragement. Okay, and for those who have not been fully vaccinated. If you are fully vaccinated and feel comfortable, come on in. Okay. The second change we'll make is make sure that staff in all cases, when they're within 6 foot distance of everybody, that they offer to put a mask on when dealing with the public. So if you're standing on the corner and they're 6 foot away, it's like we can feel comfortable talking in the wind and everything going on. If we're in close quarters, we're looking over a document or working at a computer or a kiosk or something like that, I think staff will be asked to offer, are you comfortable? Would you like me to put a mask on for those people? The third thing is that we ask staff that they do put a mask on when requested. And that'll be the sum total of our COVID requirements. And so that is the direction we're heading. And so just wanted to share that with council and share that with the public. I think we're meeting the changes are happening pretty quickly. Again, individual responsibility. I think these are reasonable, rational. I think they fit what is going on nationally. So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, those are my community update for tonight.
Thank you. Any comments from the recommendations from the COVID team to Paul? Paul, I just want to say I want to congratulate our COVID team. I know there's been a long drawn process for over 14 months now. I think it's been going on. City was hit early with COVID cases, and this team was formed. And I'd really like to acknowledge our staff, our employees, for working through this and continue to offer services. Could you mention who the COVID team is so we know because they put a lot of time and effort and hours into this. It'd be nice to know and recognize that COVID team for what they've done.
So Fire Chief Gary Robinson is our the lead of our COVID team. Then it's also myself with HR, with Chris Colopy, with John Angulo, with Jerry Barnes, and David Barano, and AJ Castaneda. And did I miss anybody? Oh, Pam. Pam is an executive assistant and keeps track of everything. And we've been meeting. We started meeting 5 to 6 days a week. We went down to 3 days. We're down to 1, but it was quite the roller coaster. There are times when we would meet and we thought there's nothing, there is nothing different new could happen, and we'd get a curveball. But it really was helpful to have, I think, consistency. The most important thing: are we meeting the needs of the employees and the residents? That we treat everybody the same. That no one is punished because of these ideas of of COVID, and it worked out. So we're real happy about that.
Thank you very much, and thank the COVID team for that, and all our staff, really. Now we go to community call to the public. I get a little ahead of myself and missed one whole section there. So we do have one speaker card, Evelyn Vargas. Go to that. Make sure that mic is on there, and we'll.
Testing. On. Thank you, Mayor Gameros and council members of the City of Globe. Wanted to ask, is it okay if we show a few pictures in this next 3 minutes? Okay. Just an update on the Aquatic Center. We want to keep you all abreast of what's happening with the Aquatic Center. And since we last met, since I was last here, we did do some adjustments, and I want to speak specifically on maintenance and operations tonight. There's a discrepancy on maintenance and operation between the original proposal that we gave the City of Globe, the Town of Miami, and the county. The major discrepancy was that in the plan that we're looking at now is personnel hours. We were planning on keeping the pool open 7 days a week, 14 hours a day, just the extremes. After having a lot of conversation with the City of Florence, or the Town of Florence, they gave us a breakdown of how they operate their pool. So with the population that we have, the breakdown would be $104,000 for the City of Globe, $29,000 for the City of Miami, $99,000 for Southern Gila County, and that's looking at their revenue, which is at $50,000. We expect our revenue to be higher because people have to travel further to find an aquatic center. So our estimate on the revenue would be about $70,000, and that is a understatement, we believe, also because the population that the town of Kearney's Aquatic Center serves is about 8,000 people. Florence has 29,000 people, 17,000 of them are inmates in the prison. They're not going to use the pool. Florence has 2 pools, 2 aquatic centers, one in the town of Florence, one in the town or the community of Anthem. There's about 4,000 people in the community of Anthem, so technically the town of Florence services about 8,000 people. When we take a look at our service area, it's the town of Miami, City of Globe, the county areas, it's about 16,000 people, roughly double of the population that Florence serves. And if we take into account what we could probably generate in revenue, which is about $70,000, the City of Globe would pay about $97,000, Miami $27,000, Gila County $92,000. That's a net savings of $22,000 for the City of Globe. If we take into account what you're going to pay for the rehabilitation of the community center, that's a $22,000 savings. For the City of Miami, it would be a $37,000 savings. Can you imagine what they can do with that extra money? And of course, this would be a new cost for Gila County at a cost of $92,000 a year. Just to go over a few things that an aquatic center has that we won't have with the Hostetler pool or with the Globe Community Pool. 8 competition lanes, regulation length. Right now, the community center has 6 competition lanes, not regulation. Miami has 5 competition lanes, not regulation. 0 entry, none at Globe, none in Miami. 2 slides, none in Globe, none in Miami. Diving board, none in Globe, none in Miami. Play structure, none in Globe, none in Miami. Water spouts at 0 entry. There may be a splash pad at the community center, none at the Hostetler. Boys and girls locker rooms at all facilities. Conference party room at the aquatic center, none in Globe, none in Miami. Garden ticket area in all facilities. Deck bleachers for competition for spectators, none in Globe, none in Miami. And the list goes on and on from there. But I just want to point out that if we can work together, City of Globe, Town of Miami, and the county to support the M&O costs, you would be saving money with a much better pool that would serve all the population, not just a part of the population. So I'm just here to, I guess, ask if we can do another presentation, if you think, if you would consider the option of reopening that pool at $1 million. $1 million would go a long way towards the capital cost of the aquatic center, and paying $120,000 a year versus $90,000, $97,000 a year. That's a huge savings for other projects. So, you know, maybe we come together and on a future agenda. But I think I want to stress that when we work together, the lift isn't as heavy. You know, we can get it done. I don't think a project of this magnitude has ever been accomplished between the City of Globe and the Town of Miami. And what a wonderful thing it would be for the whole community, you know, tiny babies to the very elderly. And that's what an aquatic center would bring to the community. So thank you for your time. I'm not sure if you each want a copy of this, these numbers, but I do have them if you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Evelyn. We'll get those copies in the back. Thank you. Next, we go to special presentations, ceremonial matters, and first we have recognition of Stephanie Penny Mata for 10 years of service with the City of Globe and for retirement from the City of Globe. Honorable Judge John Perlman.
I would start from the podium to
Yes, we can
talk.
hear you. Yeah.
We put Penny up front, and then you talk from the podium, and then you beat her down.
Just what you wanted, Penny.
Well, it's again a pleasure to be here and to speak before council and the public. And I normally have just tremendous appreciation and thanks and gratitude to give to Penny for the hard work and the many years that she's put in. I believe it's 10 years, is that correct? And I've known Penny for longer than that. She was working in the court system before I came on board. She's extremely knowledgeable. She is the gears that make the court go on a day-to-day basis. She knows more about the systems, more about the computer systems and the software that they keep updating and throwing new processes into. She knows legal procedure. She's phenomenal with the public. And I am extremely proud of her as an employee. She makes the court run The regretful part of this entire presentation, however, is that a few years ago, Penny announced that she was intending to retire. And when she gave me the date, I remember I wrote it in my dayminder on a Post-it, and every year I'd take the Post-it out and I'd put it in my next dayminder. And at first it seemed like, oh, that date is just way off in the future, not to worry about it. It's like forgotten, more or less. And it was forgotten until a few months ago when Penny reminded me that after 10 years of diligent service, she was looking forward to retirement. And it was impending, and it wasn't way off in the future. It was coming soon. It was coming this June, in fact. And I remember feeling a little shudder of anxiety and dread, thinking, oh my God, what are we going to do without Penny? I still don't have the answer to that. Penny, you are spectacular, and you will be missed and appreciated at the same time. And if I may approach. We are super proud of you.
It should, yeah.
We should.
Can we see it?
Very nice.
Cool.
All right, let's go, guys.
No, we're going to stand
We'll
up.
have to squeeze in.
All right. One more.
Silverbill, right
Yeah,
here.
right there, Seth.
Penny, one more.
Right there, Penny.
Any words, Penny, or can you go to the mic so they can hear?
I would like to just say I have truly enjoyed. I started off at the Globe Regional Justice Court, and then Globe took the court back down here, and I've truly enjoyed being here at the City of Globe. It has. I have so much respect for the council and for the city manager, and all the things you do for the City of Globe. I mean, I'm moving away to be with my kids and my grandkids, but I love Globe now. And I'm sorry, Mayor, you know, we're from Miami, but I love living in Globe. And I never thought I would say that, but I just see the progress, and I'm so impressed, you know, with how everyone cares what's going on. And actually, when Michelle Yurkovich was going to come to the City of Globe, I had told her, you're going to come to like a family. I had told her, because I meant it. And then, you know, she loved it. And so, anyway, that's it. I just say thank you for being able to be a part of this City of Globe.
Thank you very much for your 10 years service, Penny.
Penny, did you grab that bag right there? Penny?
I've known Penny a long time. I coached her son many years ago in football, and she has that unique personality to greet the public, and she made a difference every time I come in through the door, or anybody comes in the door. She has that personality to greet people. You bet. And thank you.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes, we want to see it.
We want to see how much money you got.
Everybody gets a bite.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh. There you go.
Thank you, Penny. Item B is council will hear a presentation by staff regarding the key elements of fiscal year 2021, 2022 budget and possibly give direction. And we have Jeannie and Paul.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, yes, and I'm going to do the majority of this. Jeannie is online listening in, and I think we have a number 1, 2, 3, 4 slides. So the I just wanted to go through some of the highlights, going through and so and let me see if I can drive the slide presentation here. I got it there. Okay. So just these are a couple of the key features of the general fund budget. Just wanted to run by and make sure that council is okay that we intend to include. I did speak with Micah Gadet from town manager of Miami, and he has asked, and we intend to include $73,000 to assist in the funding of the Copper Mountain Transit. Again, we are continuing with the $13,000 for Globe Boys and Girls Club. $25,000 in blight remediation funding, and $60,000 in our common line budget. Those are some of the key big items that we include. I don't know, Mr. Mayor, we had talked about, and sometimes we do have a presentation from Miami on the transit. Is that something that council desires to have? We could invite the town manager to come and make a presentation. Seeing many heads nodding.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, we can do that. The last key budget topic we have on here is the magistrate courts. There's a discussion. I was approached by Judge Reardon, and he informed me that there is an option where we could relocate the magistrate court that the city runs, which is civil, traffic, and city code. And that could be co-located at the county court complex. It would be Judge Reardon and not Judge Perlman that would be our magistrate. We would name him the magistrate. It would save about $52,000. There's a lot of issues to this and pros and cons. I'm not asking you to decide now. I just wanted to let you know that this has been a discussion that's kind of been going along. One of the key question, the reason we can't really talk about this yet, is we're working to get the issue of security. We are confident that the magistrate court that we run right now is secure. But I want to do my homework, make sure that there's nothing new that's going to cost us the budget today, this cycle, or in the near future. Since the discussion's on the table, I think it'd be improper for me not to bring this to council. If there's a chance so we could save $52,000, I think you need to consider that. But there's a lot of pros and cons to it. Cost, of course, control. It would be, the magistrate now works for you and at your pleasure, whereas this would be a justice of the peace, which is elected by the people. Quality, convenience. The people who get a ticket in the City of Globe would go to the magistrate court, or would go to the county complex. So I'm not really looking for any direction. I just wanted to let everybody know that we're going to return in either a week or in 2 weeks and have a full-blown presentation on this. And so any questions about anything you've talked on this slide? Just another checking in with council. The staff intends to bring forward the same distribution of the bed tax as we have done for, I think, the past 3 or 4 years with no changes. We are proposing that our estimate is that will be about $145,000, 145,809 will be collected, and that will be distributed by the same formula, which is the 22 for the chamber, 22% for EDC, 15 for historical, Center for the Arts, 20%, downtown, 20%. The same formula, really no change. It'll just continue on. Any feedback, any desire to make any changes or any discussion? If not, we'll just include it in the budget as is. Okay. Okay,
This
and,
is all, this is all dependent on the cities being held harmless and
no,
tax rate, or these are just ballpark figures?
no, this is, the way we structure this is 100% of what we collect in that 0.3% bed tax will be distributed. So we're projecting 145,000 be collected, and this would be a split. If it comes out a little higher, they get a little bit more. Comes out a little bit less, they get less, and we split it with that. So, so all of it, whatever we collect, will be distributed. Okay.
Paul, not tonight, but just can you include why the Historical Society percentage is so low? I mean, just as a history for us in the future.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah. No, we'll have to do the research. I can't answer that right now, but we can find out. And if there was a change, this would be the time to change it. Any other questions on this slide?
Right.
Oh,
Thank you. That said, I think a full presentation or at least an explanation on all the percentages, why they are, there's a group that have 20%, a group that has 22.5, and another one has 15. I think it would be good for us to know how that came about.
okay.
Just something tells me that, the 145 seems like a higher number than we've seen in the past.
Well,
Is this a trend? Is this,
let me, Jeannie, I know Jeannie has a spreadsheet that shows a trend. Jeannie, are you there?
I am here.
Do you want to, can you take a shot at this right now about the trend, or do you want to add
Sure.
that when we come?
So, let me get up to that line in my spreadsheet.
I mean, I remember we used to be happy when we hit 100,000.
right, that's,
Yeah.
I'm kind of
And-
recognizing.
So what I did to come up with this projection is I took the bed tax that we have received through April 30th and averaged that out over 10 months and added 2 more months onto it. So if bed tax trends continue the way that they have been, we would be coming in at around 145,809 in the new proposed budget.
And Jeannie, do you have the budget model there? Can you see what maybe the earlier 2 years, what we either estimated or
yeah.
actuals?
Actually budgeted for this current fiscal year, we had budgeted 158,801, and so my projections on that actually is 172.5, and again, that's taking the amounts through April, getting the 10-month average, adding 2 more months on to what we've actually received. Our actual revenue received as of 4/30 was 162,698. So that's for the current fiscal year.
1920, 1920.
20, we budgeted 158,801. And if you remember last year, because of COVID, we basically mirrored the budget from the year before. So
Jeannie, I think we're actually shooting a little low because the projections from this year, it's an up and down number, and it's realistically it's based on. Sometimes we have a lot of people in town with like forest fires and things like that, with smelter shutdowns. It's really kind of up and down, and everything's kind of a little bit. We're not sure what the trends are given coming out of the COVID. So, but Jeannie is very conservative, and so usually if it's going to be anything, it'll be higher than she projected. But the bottom line is whatever we collect, it will be passed along.
yeah, it's just a straight pass through if council desires.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And so then, but we will come back with a short history on the percentages and specifically why Historical Society is lower.
I do know there was an agreement at that time because they were trying to get the EDC going, and so they sat down and that's what they actually came up with. And we've never come back to try to change the amounts, but they could probably tell you why.
And let's see here. So next slide. Just a quick status. So Jeannie's been and myself. Last week we went through the line item general fund budget. We've what I can tell you now as of May 25th, and things may change. But we in order to project this budget, we have to do an estimate of what we're going to come out on the past budget, and that's how we come up with the fund balance. And I don't want to share too many numbers with you, but I will tell you that we came in and underspent last year's budget by about 134,857. It's close, but still under is better than over. And so that shows the discipline of staff, especially during the COVID times. Beginning fund balance, when everything falls back in, anything that's not spent falls back into the fund balance. We're projecting the starting fund balance for this budget cycle at 4,274,527. All right. Pure general fund revenue projections were about 11,113,281. I wish that was higher. That is our toughest number. The pure general fund money is the money that we get from sources that are ongoing. Sales tax is the biggest, property tax, the 3 state shared revenue sources, the revenue that's collected on behalf of the city and distributed to us, and then many other fees, and we've talked about that before, but that's the number that we're looking at as to budget baseline cost. And that is the what we're working on now. It of all the things going on, we have a lot of one-time money out there from different sources, but that's the one that is the hardest to match and make everything work. But we have a plan, and we'll be coming forward with that. I believe in 8 days. The next steps, we will finalize that baseline general fund budget to match the revenues, and that balance the budget based on those basics. Propose a CIP budget items to be funded by city-funded balance, and unfortunately, we don't have enough general fund to fund the one-time project CIP, and then propose the department fixes we talked about to be funded by the rescue funds. This discussion of the pure general fund revenue projections, that would be where we would take the hit if they were to do the 1.9 billion cut. The 367,000 would come out of that. That would be very devastating to us. We have a lot of other monies. We have that come from other sources, but this is what we function off of. And I was monitoring the presentation by Nick Ponder of the League in session today at the House Appropriations, and he cited Globe in Miami and the impact it would have specifically on us. I also saw Representative Cook speak to the Appropriations Committee, and so we're on the radar. They know that we're the type of city, this small, rural, lot of growth, that is going to be hit by this, and so that is one of those question marks we have to deal with. And then last slide. And this is just a short calendar to show how we get to the end of this. What we will ask at the scheduling of new meetings is if we can add a Wednesday night meeting next week. Tuesday is January 1st. It's actually the first day after the Memorial Day, and that might be inconvenient. It's always tough to come off a vacation and have a meeting. But if when we get to that portion of the agenda, we'd like to see the availability if council would approve a 90-minute, 6 to 7:30 me. Okay, Jeannie will be in charge. Okay, so you tell her 90 minutes, she'll do it, and just to review the line items, and if and that includes time for questions. If there are no questions, but that would be the June 2nd meeting. June 8th, we want to bring back the SAP because the strategic action plan, because we'll be doing CIP items there and enterprise CIP, and so the best time to talk about nailing down what the strategic action plan is when we're approving and making the decisions on CIP. That would be at the June 8th meeting. I know that if depending on how things go, we might ask for a special meeting on the 15th. I figured I'd throw it in there and let's see what kind of progress we make. But then the adoption of the tentative budget will be on that June 22nd meeting. Now, I have down here revenue department fixes, and this is where we're going to look at some of the things that we talked about in strategic action plan about some adjustments that need to be made. And so we'll propose those at that point. And at that point, we should have a preliminary draft of our compensation study also to help guide us. And adoption of the tentative budget is the maximum limit. It's not the full budget, but it's how much you can spend. That has to happen before the end of the month and the end of the budget cycle. Then we'll come back and adopt the final budget. We can tweak it, we can make cuts, we can move stuff around, but that's the key budget. Jeannie, did I miss anything on describing the timeline?
No, I don't believe you did.
So any questions on the timeline? Okay. And I know that so just kind of an update as to where we are on the budget and the process, and so it's going together well. There are a lot of moving pieces, but when it comes together, it's going to be a tight budget. It's going to be a detailed budget. It's going to be comprehensive, and it's going to be accurate.
Special meeting that you want to have is going to be
The 2nd of June would be a week from tomorrow night, and so, but you can talk about it now, or we can talk about it at the end of the meeting when we talk about meetings.
We'll wait till the meeting when that comes up.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, if there are no other questions, that's all I have for you.
Questions, comments, or anything?
Comment? Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Mariano.
I've had 2 meetings with Mr. Jepson, and he has graciously led me by the hand through 2 complicated items, the strategic action plan as well as the upcoming budget process. And I feel he has more than adequately brought me up to speed through those 2 conversations. I want to thank him for taking the time, and there'll be some items I'll address going into this month of budget review. But I want to thank you for all the hard work and patience of leading me through the process, sir. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Mayor, Councilman Gonzales, thank you very much. Any time anyone wants to sit down and meet individually on the budget with myself, with Jeannie, snapshot of where we are, we always have time to get you up to speed if there's any questions or any concerns as we go through the process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have consent calendar now. Matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. Public hearing items are designated with an asterisk. Prior to the consideration of the consent agenda, the mayor will ask whether any member of the public wishes to remove a public hearing item for separate consideration. Members of the council and/or staff may remove any item for separate consideration also. Item A, consideration of waiver of section 2-4-10A prior discussion rule to allow action on the balance of the consent agenda. Accounts payable, $250,962.57. Consideration of approval of council minutes. Consideration to approve the April 27, 2021 summary minutes. Consideration of agreements and purchases less than $25,000. And consideration to award contract number CS-2021-0017 to Pumpman for the Cutter Booster Number 3 replacement project in the amount of $20,244.35 plus an owner's contingency of 15% at $3,036.65. The funds of the 23-281 will come from budgeted funds in account number 50-80-52200, Water Capital Outlay Construction. Is there anybody from the public, the staff, or the council would like to remove any of these items for separate consideration?
Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda as read. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any abstaining? Motion passed. New business, Item A, discussion and consideration for ratification of the National Endowment for the Humanities American Rescue Plan, Humanities Organization, funding opportunity number 202-10514-ARPO. Grant submitted on May 13, 2021 in the amount of $295,335 for the Beshpagao Ruins exhibit repair. And we have Jerry and Leanna here for explanation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's way better than I am.
So, I knew something was wrong when Paul said, let's go to lunch and I'm buying. That's when he told me we had less than 10 days to get this in. And, but, you know, we pulled a grant team together, a grant writing team together. Jessica Cruz, Melissa Steele, Rick Powers, Leanna McGill, and Linda Adoneto and myself. And my part of it is I had to talk tonight, and that's real difficult for me. So,
Not true.
so, but anyway, what we did, but with the aid of Zoom, is we went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until we think we polished it pretty good. And I think we sent it out, right, to the council. And it is for $295,000. It is to repair and do maintenance at the Besh ruins, the exhibit, the outdoor exhibit there. We have currently 3 buildings that are closed out there, 2 single and a 2-story building that are closed. Well, the 2-story is actually the bottom level is open to the public, but we are at the point now it's a safety, health and safety, and we applied for a grant through Freeport, was 3 years ago, 2017, and was granted that. The problem is the engineers did the estimate and not a historic person. So we were given $75,000 when we needed $250,000. And so the first thing we did was hire Motley Group to do a historic design on the ruins for the repair. And that was an eye-opener. And the estimate came back around $200,000. And we have added a little since then for COVID and inflation, and we come up with about $295,000. That doesn't include staff time, and it doesn't include Leanna's time. She's spent a lot of time on this grant, and we think we have a decent shot at it. And so we've already sent it off. So we're asking tonight that council ratify that, and we're only gonna do the first reading of it because we'll be coming back hopefully with good news so we can have you accept the grant. So that's, you want to say anything else?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody, the grant team, for, like Paul said, it was a really short window. I just happened upon this grant in like a random email, and it literally was like due in 10 days. It was huge. It was a lot of work. There's no way one person could have done it in that amount of time. So thank you, Linda, Jerry, Melissa, Jessica, and Rick Powers, because it was quite a bit of work. So fingers crossed, they'll approve it. They'll make announcements in September. So we'll be waiting patiently.
And you know, extra kudos to Rick Powers. He donated his time towards this grant, and we appreciate that. He's one of our consultants, and didn't feel right about charging for this, so we appreciate all the effort he did as well. This is important. This is a big draw to the city, and we hope to, if we don't get the money here, we're ready to go somewhere else.
Got to keep looking.
Got to keep looking, because you know, the alternative is to close the outside exhibit, so it's getting to be that bad.
Questions or comments for Jerry or Leanna? Ready?
Thank you, Mayor. Did you say September we would, or you would be able to have some sort of a announcement?
That's when they'll make the announcement.
Okay,
I don't have a specific date, but it's
okay.
when they.
Well, thanks for doing that, and good luck, best of luck. I truly hope you land it.
So, when we first started, it was pretty overwhelming, so we divided it up and that made it manageable and then we took our work and we passed it off to the next person when they polished it a little bit. By the time we got done, we had a pretty good product. I'm pretty proud of it. And, I think, three of us anyway are very proud to send it in. We think we've got a good chance at this.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, the action tonight is to ratify the submission. We didn't have time to get this on the agenda before it was the deadline, and so that would be the action. It doesn't need to waive the rules because if we receive it, we'll accept it, and so that's the strategy on putting on the agenda.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to ratify the grant submittal for the National Endowment for the Humanities, American Rescue Plan, Humanities Organizations, Funding Opportunity Number 20210514, ARPO, grant submitted on May 13th, 2021, in the amount of $295,335 for the Beshpagaw Ruins exhibit repair.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for ratification of the grants submission. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any abstaining? Motion passed. Thank you, Leanna, and thanks to all the team.
Keep our fingers crossed.
Item B, discussion and consideration of Resolution 1837. Council would consider the draft council members' vacancy policy. Shelley, can you read Resolution 1837, please?
Yes, sir. Mayor. Resolution number 1837, a resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Globe, Gila County, Arizona, adopting a council vacancy policy for council members. Is council pleased with the reading?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, after the filling of the last vacancy, I think everybody's very pleased at how that went. We had put together a program that we had chosen. In putting this into ordinance as a possible ordinance, and it's still up to council whether you want to even adopt this at all. There's just a couple of key changes that I wanted to point out. If you look at in section 2, number 2J, one of we had sequestered the applicants, the interviewees, before while one interviewed, the rest would stay off in the room, not listening to that. We did change this up to allow that if someone did want to listen in on the interviews, they had that right. But we did add that they would be disqualified from consideration if they chose that. But it's a matter of saying we don't have the power to say, no, you can't attend the public meeting. And so that's their option. And so we would never insist they couldn't, but just suggest that that's the best way to be considered. That's one change. The other is pretty much section 3. We kind of, we put that into words that made our attorney comfortable. So I'll go through the process after immediately following the interview process in the public meeting, and to ensure that it's in a public meeting, this is all taking place. Council members will indicate their nomination preference from among those who were interviewed. There's no need for nominations. It's just if you're interviewed, you're in the mix. And the indicating their preference, the clerk will review council member preference as we did. You indicated your preference. You passed it down to the clerk. The clerk reviewed that preference. The clerk will determine if a candidate has sufficient interest to warrant further consideration. And at first time we did not. The second time we did. On O, if initially the clerk does not find sufficient interest to warrant further consideration, council indicate their preferences from among the 2 most favored candidates until sufficient interest is determined. That is how our process went on the first round. once the clerk finds sufficient interest, the council will move to the appointment process. And so this is a process to pick who the council is determining to nominate. The nomination steps back. So this is a mechanism so you can come up with a nomination as opposed to motion second as the first one to nominate, which is, I think, what everybody has kind of heartburn with. Let's see, and then the Q, if the clerk is unsuccessful in finding sufficient interest, council may table the appointment until the next regular scheduled meeting. I will say that the process stops here. If it's not successful on that first round, the process locks you into nothing. Okay, you table it, and it doesn't say you have to come back and do it all again. I think that at that point, this policy leaves it wide open for council to maybe make a different run at it. If this didn't work well, you can, it's council's pleasure. Okay, so I think that's kind of that open-ended. Now, but the important part, number 4, immediately following the evaluation process at the public meeting, the mayor will call for a nomination based on the outcome of the evaluation process. Mayor call for a motion, and this is all based on section 214. And then the newly appointed will be sworn in within the 2 weeks. And that is the legal process of nominating and appointing and voting for. And so the mechanism of the selection process of the nominee and then the appointment process is in section 4. And just a note, and this is, I think, Shelley, this is in our regular code about the mayor vacancy, that the mayor, if there's vacancy of the mayor, that would be chosen from among the council. So I think there's a level of comfort in having a policy handled. I think with Councilman Humphrey, it would have been, I wish we'd had this in place at that point. It's a difficult time, and then having to go through and do this. And I apologize for not getting this back. We had another vacancy before we get this back before you, but here it is, following the last vacancy. And I think it would be a helpful policy to have, adopted, but it's, again, I think there might be a question about whether we need to have a formal policy adopted. So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, I turn it back to you for discussions or questions. Fernando?
I have a question about the mayor vacancy. I always just assumed that the vice mayor would step up into that spot, but I guess that would.
That is a logical assumption, and if the council chooses to vote that way, that's absolutely what can happen.
So then we would
but it's not a lock.
That council member, so we'd fill whatever district that.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think just for continuity, it would be difficult to pull a member of the public into the mayor slot.
Sure.
But whether the council is supportive of just giving the nod to the vice mayor, that is something that seems logical, and you can. I don't know if you want to lock that in, but I think that you would see that would happen, but not it's whether you want to force it.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Mike.
So for the mayor's appointment, and the vice mayor would take that position if it's open. Okay. But with the new mayor, then he would run for in the next election, though. So that office, right?
So just
to make sure we're clear here.
So let's say it was a vice mayor. The mayor left. The vice mayor would be appointed to the mayor slot and the mayor's election schedule and the mayor's coverage of all district. And then we go through the vacancy process to cover the vacancy left by in this case, the vice mayor who was left the district that he was in.
But doesn't the law say that if you're an elected official and you are appointed or fill another position, which is an elected position, at the next regular scheduled election, whether it's on schedule or not,
yes,
you have to run.
Yes, and so so let's say that it happened 6 months into a 4-year mayor's term.
Right.
Yes, the vice, let's say in this case, the vice mayor would be appointed mayor, but would have to rerun, would only hold till that 2-year cycle, and then have to go on the ballot and rerun for that position, or possibly be challenged. But you're absolutely correct on that.
I want to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no problem. That's good.
Any other comments, questions?
Just a comment also, just because we pass this or we feel we need a policy for it as we move forward, future council can change this. They have the opportunity to change whatever process there is, so we're not tying them into any process really.
Right. It gives a comfort level, but it's not set in stone. You could take the time you need to make that change if you felt that it would be for some advantage. But the other beauty is we could go another 10 years without having a vacancy, and we're all gone, and all of a sudden we have a vacancy, and it's like, they can find us in the code book and follow this. We've kind of made a good run at it, and so we're kind of proud of it.
Mr. Mayor, from the point of view of reviewing emergency operations plans, there's a principle called continuity of government, and you ask the government entity, what's your plan if you lose the head of your government? What do you do? And if you have the policy in place, can point to it, and then an emergency manager reviewing your plan could say, yes, we can check that one off the books. This fulfills that particular capability. So that's good to have that online. Emergency managers will love to see that when they review your jurisdiction. And that's just another good thing to have around.
So this will be a motion to move forward then, right?
Right. Motion to bring this back at the next available meeting.
I motion to move this forward to the next available meeting.
Second.
Motion and second to move forward Resolution 1837 to the next available meeting. Any further discussion?
I got just one. It might be not a bad thing to put in parentheses that they can choose a different process if they choose to, but.
On the second run?
Yeah, on this, somewhere in. Is it in there?
The resolution.
It's in the.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Any other comments, discussion, Call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any abstaining? Motion passed. We go to action items, and we'll be opening a public hearing regarding the use of the Community Development Block Grant funds. The City of Globe is expected to receive approximately $177,237 in fiscal year 2021 federal CDBG funds from the Arizona Department of Housing. It is expected the City of Globe will select the final project after closing the public hearing. So we will have comments from Robert Mawson of CAG, Community Development Manager. Staff will present a project list, and council will consider as the projects for fiscal year 2021 CDBG funding. So at this point, I want to open up the public hearing. And anybody that is present, if you can please sign in the sign-in sheet at the back of the room here, please. And we'll turn it over to Robert Mawson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I stand here and I look at all of you, and it just takes me back to different parts of my career and what we're doing. So I know we've all worn different hats and been in different places, so it's good to be before you tonight. This is the second of two hearings for the fiscal 21 Community Development Block Grant Program. There's approximately $177,000 available to the City of Globe for a potential project. The first hearing, I wasn't here, but I understand you went through different types of projects, had some projects presented to you, came down to basically 5 options for you to consider between that time and now. The purpose of this hearing is, again, to take public comments on those 5 projects for Mayor and Council to deliberate a little bit this evening, ask whatever questions you feel are appropriate, and choose a project so that we can move forward with the application for this funding. I know staff have presentations to make on their specific projects. They are before you tonight, and I'll just briefly cover them for the record. Fire apparatus for wildland urban interface pumper, remediation and possible demolition of a hazardous city-owned building, city park revitalization, initiation of a healthcare service coordinator victim advocate position, and road infrastructure per the general plan 20-year street program. Those are the options you have. Unfortunately, you're locked into one of those 5. You can't start something new tonight, but you'll have more information on those, and I'm here to answer any other questions you might have on the CDBG process. And I'll turn the time back over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Robert. So do we have any public comment at all, staff or public? Will that go to this one or to our next item?
I think, Robert, I think that is the presentation by staff on the projects during the public hearing or after at the next item?
Yeah.
Now. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, staff, go ahead.
Do we have somebody here from each?
Yes. Fairly much, yes.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. As far as the project that we proposed related to CDBG funding was the purchase of wildland. Sorry.
Mike, is it on?
It's on. I just need to speak up a little bit. The project that we proposed as part of this CDBG process was for the funding to go to a portion of the cost of a wildland urban interface pumper. Our current estimated budget for that project now is approximately $450,000 to complete. That apparatus would fill a role not only within the city but also within the surrounding area, the surrounding forest, and potentially throughout the state and the western United States if the need arises. That unit is designed not only for fires within communities, it's also designed for fires outside in that environment, in the forest environment, in neighborhoods bordering forest. It provides capabilities in terms of pump size, in terms of all-wheel drive, functionality, the ability to carry specific equipment and access difficult places that would function well in our community when we have inclement weather as well. My understanding, and maybe I'm wrong going forward, my understanding was that with that, I don't think there's an option to do a portion of a payment. It would have to be a complete and total, the project would have to be completely funded using funds not only from CDBG but from the city in order to make that occur. And I haven't been told anything different related to that. We are also exploring options for that going forward. We do feel that equipment will provide a necessary void within the capabilities that we have at the fire department.
And Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I just let council know I do intend to, if this is not the choice, to include a type 3 lease option in the CIP budget to be presented to council this year.
Any questions?
Okay. Questions? I'm sorry, what was the total cost of that project?
The estimated budget we have right now sits about $450,000.
I have a question, Mayor.
Fernando, go ahead.
Every one of these that we're being discussed tonight have qualify, right? Because I know we've discussed things that don't qualify before. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Shipley, yes, every project that's on the list tonight fulfills one of the qualifications for CDBG, so you don't have to worry about which one you would select.
And we don't have to do any additional studies. Like one time we had to do a income survey at the last minute, and so we don't have to do that, right?
That should be taken care of, yes.
Okay, thank you.
What project do we have next? Do we have a list of order or?
I can.
The next one.
Do you want to, the remediation of the buildings?
If you guys brought donuts or something before you made your section.
Don't encourage that. If you put them, there'll be T-shirts and theater tickets. Yeah, a little video.
So we looked at the cost of asbestos abatement and demolition of two different city-owned buildings that are blighted in bad shape. And the monies to demo the building and to stabilize the properties is fairly close to do those two buildings. We may be a little bit over because of the stabilization that's required with this, but that is the fire department, or the old medical plaza to be used for the fire department, that building, and for the rogue gallery next to the library was the other building that we looked at.
So you're saying that, oh, excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Mike.
So you're saying there's, the 177,000 would cut it pretty close?
It probably gonna run a little bit over
Yeah.
that money to do those two buildings.
Have all the studies been done on the buildings?
I'm sorry?
Have all the studies, the environmental, the asbestos and all that been done, or is that additional?
No, this would be part of that would be included in the cost.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I got one for Robert. Robert, to clarify, we're talking about 177,000, but what's the administration cost? Is not the total 177 that we'll receive, right? Or is it after the?
Yeah. Should be.
Yeah. What's a percentage admin fee then? About 15? Okay. So we got to deduct 15% off the 177.
That number,
About 25,000.
25?
So we're about 150,000 that we're receiving, talking about.
That's
Thank
the numbers we've been operating on.
Thank you.
John, you're up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for your continued support and consideration on this request. As we go into tonight's meeting, we talked about, with our recreational area around our Beshpagawa ruins, that's funding. You look all over globe, you see funding for WIFA projects. We even see some asphalt work done doing this week. One of the areas that we usually kind of fall a little low on, we tried doing, like I said, with their CIP requests, but these dollar amounts aren't necessarily always available. Last week, the community center had reserved area for 100 people. This week it's 50. This is in that general area that we're hoping to redo some revitalization. The playground equipment, roughly estimated, right now current pricing is almost 162,000. That's with installation cost and the fiber and everything for the upgrades. I've also looked at additional costs for lighting, but fortunately for us, the lighting upgrades is actually their APS poles. So we have a meeting with them this morning on another subject. So I was just going to request, see if there's any areas. I would love that area to be lit up for the evening because, a lot of times too, if the ball field lights aren't running, it's pretty dark in those areas. Additional requests would be also upgrading those bathrooms. Linda probably has something else to add on around here somewhere, but that's my take on it.
Thank you, John. For the past few years, we as the city have been involved in many community facilitation processes, and in every single one, which include, of course, our own council strategic action plan, the Recharge Our Community Economy town hall series, and most recently the Cobra Valley Collaborative three-year community action plan. In every one of these facilitations, our community has told us what their number one priority is, and that is recreation and increasing recreational amenities here in the city of Globe. And we all know that recreation not only provides for greater quality of life for our residents, but it also brings an economic draw into the community. Our fields could be drawing in softball, baseball tournaments. We could be using them as a driver for that as well. And our community stakeholders are coming to the table as well. We're coming out of COVID. What do we learn from COVID? We're dying to be outside. We want to be enjoying our recreational amenities. Like John said, our fields are booked until November. Our parks are full. Our park equipment needs to be replaced, so we're taking a look at that. And so, you know, that's why we're making this really hard campaign for these dollars, because the stars are aligning. Our stakeholders are coming to the table. Next, we'll be bringing for ratification the Freeport grant. We are just completing our letter of intent, again, with our amazing and awesome grant writing team, which we were pulling this together, you know, very quickly, but very, very good narratives here that our community is telling us it's our priority. Our council has supported that. We have invested in that, and so we will continue to invest in that. So thank you for your consideration.
Question?
Mike, go ahead.
So John? So the focus is going to be on revitalizing the community center.
Yes, community center area, play areas, the bathrooms, actually additional swings. As you know, some of them actually were vandalized and actually stolen, never replaced. That would extend some of the area that we have now, but actually make it bigger.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the 177,000 will make a big dent there for you?
Oh, yes. Yeah, the only area we'd probably come a little short, and I actually working that through our CIP, is the bathrooms.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Don't go away, John.
Go ahead, Mariano.
I took it upon myself last week to tour District 5 on my own. I have a nice little car and it gets great mileage, so I felt I could spend a couple gallons of gas touring District 5. And so far in my review, and this is the first I've heard of this is wonderful, by the way, I don't see a lot of parks in District 5. I don't see any addressing of that in the latest iteration of the strategic plan. There's only 2 small parks in District 5. So I just want to point that out to the rest of the council. There are properties available in District 5. I want to work on that, call that my special mission. It's a great district. There's just not a lot of parks and other amenities. And I want to point that out to council. John, I'm not putting you on the spot and to spend all the money on District 5. I'm just saying there's a need there, and we need to look at that. And I'd like to make that my mission. There are many other things I'd like to pursue in District 5, and in the next few weeks, I'll be inviting the citizens of District 5 to have their own little strategic planning session to tell me about needs and wants and anything else they want to talk about. So I feel obligated to include that in that discussion with the citizens. I don't have a date pinned down yet, John, or Paul. The pastor and I are playing phone tag on that one hall, but we're trying to nail a date down maybe next week. But that will be one of the things I will point out to the residents. I'm not saying we've ignored District 5. I'm just saying that's the way things are. And I certainly applaud what you want to do with the big parks. And they do need to be addressed and need to be dealt with. But, you know, I'm just standing here with my little flag waving. District 5, District 5. There's not a lot there. So if you get a minute, gentlemen, tour District 5 and you'll see what I'm talking about. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, John. Appreciate it, sir.
There are no parks in District 6.
That I didn't know. Okay. All right. Here we go. Here we go.
Can I comment on that?
Yes. Yes, please do.
Gonzales, just in response, there's actually 6 neighborhood parks. 2 of them are actually in your district. If you looked at past CIP requests and current CIP requests, we are actually venturing out and looking at all of the parks in general. This just with this dollar amount for the amount of the dollar spent, we're trying to get the biggest bang for the buck in the biggest community area. If you look at some of the neighborhood parks, actually, I can take you for a ride and show you what we've actually been doing in those areas.
And I'll buy you a
would
cup of
appreciate
coffee.
that.
Let's do that. Appreciate that, sir. Very, very much.
Thank you.
I'm done, sir. Thank you.
And anybody else?
For now. For now.
Yeah,
Thank you, John, Linda.
The, Mr. Mayor, members of council, the next, item is the initiation of a healthcare services coordinator slash victim advocate position. This is something that in many of the discussions with, the police department and with, the fire department, you know, there are services out there, and there are people that we run across on a daily basis that need those services. It's not so much a problem of having the services, but making sure that we're able to get those people to those services. You've seen the recent opening of the Victim Advocacy Center, and now we're looking at a full-time position to help make those connections happen. I would say that if this was to happen as part of the community development block grant, that would be wonderful. But I will also tell you that this is the type of position that there are other alternative and dedicated sources of grant funding also, and because it's the nature of it as a position rather than a purchase, it leans itself towards it is not the best suited for community development block grant. Not that it wouldn't qualify, but it is one of those that is doesn't fit the mold as closely as some of the other projects on here. And I will tell you that I do intend to have the discussion with council in the budget cycle about where we go with this position. So if it doesn't make it here, this will be not the last time you hear about it this budget cycle. And then who's left? Oh, roads.
So, the last item is road infrastructure. In our 2035 asphalt plan that I submitted a few years back, our road infrastructure was we had a 20-year plan to improve the road system. You can see a lot of the improvements that we've done so far in the city. CDBG money was a big part of that, even though it wasn't a done deal, wasn't a stamp deal. But we have some roads that are beyond chip seal, some roads that are beyond the patching, the crack sealing, and so forth. The roads that I submitted on this CDBG request are 4th Street and 5th Street, and I did that for two reasons. One of the reasons is we cannot put a chip seal on there or a crack seal or a fog coat or anything that would improve those roads beyond them being a cracked up mess. And the other reason is the East Street School. We have a huge development going in there that we've made a lot of promises with. And in order to make good on those promises, we are going to have to dig up the streets and put in pipes so they can have fire protection and so forth. And this money will go towards repaving those roads outside. Yeah, we'll put it on the budget sooner or later, but these big ticket items, we need to figure out how to fund them. And if you look down your list of 5, quite truthfully, 3 of them can be funded in other places. The road infrastructure and the park infrastructure are the two that we really have difficult in funding. The park, for one, because we keep kicking the can down the road. You know, we keep putting on the CIP to replace these structures and so forth. It never gets done. It's a easy fruit to pick off, and when we run out of money. The road is, if we're going to achieve that 20-year cycle of doing something to our roads, whether it be a fog coat even. You know, John's team with the contractor, we actually did an oil chip over Round Mountain Road, going back to Round Mountain Park. Since I've been here for 7 years, we've talked about that. We've talked about that for the whole 7 years. It wasn't practical to put asphalt on it, but we come up with a plan to do something else. Like I say, these 2 roads that I'm talking about, there's nothing else we can do. We have to put asphalt on. So that's my big play tonight. And I think road infrastructure is a great use of the CDBG money. And maybe I just say one thing more, Robert. I don't believe that ADOH has approved everything beyond telling us we don't need the survey. I don't think Alan got that far. But so there's always that possibility. I do believe that with one of the two options that I proposed, either the roads or the parks, that infrastructure would be a benefit to the community enough, we may not need that survey. So I think one of these other three options might spark it. So that's just my opinion. Any questions for me?
Question, Mr.
Mike.
So Jerry, you mentioned 3rd Street and 4th Street,
4th and 5th Street.
4th and 5th Street, going over the top of the hill, is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
going down, it's where the complaint you got from the gentleman. It's in that area.
Okay.
There's, the road's been tore up to the point where it's so alligatored up that no matter what John's crew's just patching us. That's all we can do at this point until we actually put a mill and fill on it.
And with $177,000, you could actually tear it all up and
Mill and fill on it in the area we talked about, and it'll be about 250,000. And for the extra 75,000, we'll use half-cent excise. What it does is it takes a $250,000 job, and it only gets into John's budget about $75,000 to make some major impact. This year, unfortunately, we had a few streets on the mill and fill list. We had to cut it down to one, which was just the Taco Bell between the Speedway and the Taco Bell there. And if you've been up there, great job. And that thing was as tore up as the road you're talking about. So it works. I mean, it's a good use of the city's money, and it's also a area, as is the parks, is an area that we would have trouble funding some other way other than right out of our pocket.
I have one more
Go
question.
ahead, Mike.
So with all of the chip sealing you're doing around down in my district, which is a lot of it looks pretty nice. Those guys are pretty good workers. How much does something like that run us? I mean, where did that funding come from? Was that built in?
I got a little creative, and it was on the CIP budget, but it was in a few different places. And we used HERF money, we used half-cent excise, we used street repairs for both water and sewer. John had some repair money left over. The big thing is we probably saved $150,000, $200,000 just in doing the crack sealing ourselves. We have Cactus Asphalt's doing the asphalt work and the chip seal, and their comment was, we would love to hire you guys. You do a lot better job than our crews do.
Well, I will tell you, I have several chunks of crack seal that have come off the road sitting there in front of my house. So anytime
save it. We might need it for
yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. If you need any, come on by and pick it up. It's all along the sidewalk.
There you go, John. There's your half your budget for next year.
Okay, thank you, Jerry.
Any other questions?
Jerry, just a comment on if anybody listening in, and Mariano also being you on the council, the last CDBG funding we did spend on totally money on funding on paving, and that amount was $450,000. But because Pinal County went entitlement, look at the big drastic change. We're getting $300,000 less in this CDBG funding because of that. So it's a big drastic cut for us in the amount we're getting.
Yeah, and because of that cut, our 20-year program might be a 22 or 25-year program. Might have to push it forward a little bit, but yeah. So that's my play. If you have any more questions, I'm sure.
Go ahead. Thank you, Mayor. This may be a little bit off subject, but when does the striping? Is your crew done striping? Does our crew do it?
No, we hire it done.
That's all hired?
Yeah, we hire it done, but the asphalt and chip seal has to stay down. What is it, John? At least 30 days before we come back and stripe it. So And, because of some of the traffic, some of the roads, for instance, the road between Taco Bell and then we did a little quicker than that, mainly because of the safety issues.
Okay. So striping will come later?
Yeah,
Okay,
we have that done. And, some of the small parking lots and so forth, we try to get the contractor to stripe, but John's has a crew that's capable of making small adjustments to the striping.
Well, good to know. And
What?
I'll make sure I go through the chain.
Oh, yeah.
Call. I had a constituent call me a couple weeks ago about some striping issues in my district, so I'll take you about
They
it.
try to do it all.
Well, I'll get with you, Paul.
Yeah.
They try.
Pam's number is?
Not so much a lack of, but fading, going away.
Okay. I think I remember the conversation.
So,
So just to follow up, Councilman, they try to do it all together though, because it's not really it's multiple day, but they can do most of it in one day. So they'll wait till after the fog coat's down, which is what, Thursday? John starts on Thursday, and so sometime after that, when we can get it on the schedule, they'll get in. It'll be sometime probably in June.
well, I'll talk to you about it offline.
Okay.
I don't need to hash it
But if there's an issue with anything, notify John because he can have tabs put down for safety reasons.
Well, and just, I did have a conversation. I think while it may be faded, it hasn't reached the point where it doesn't qualify as the correct reflectivity. So sometimes it may not look so good to the average eye, but at night it still kicks the light back. But we can talk a little bit offline.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
We'll now open up. Is there any public comments on any of the presentations?
Mr. Mayor, I think Jerry makes a good point about pointing out that parks, when we get push comes to shove and we're doing the CIPs, the parks do tend to drop off in the way of their smaller cost centers, and so when you're trying to fine tune that budget, some get through, some don't, and there has been a history of some of these park issues, tree issues that have not made it across finish line multiple years. What's that?
All of them have not crossed since I've been on this council.
Yeah.
None of them have come to fruition.
So
Yeah.
right, and where we have had a pretty good run on asphalt and paving and things like that. So I think that point is well taken. And again, paving is such a magnitude. So, and Jerry's very successful at putting things together.
So I see no public, nothing on the
Nothing? Nope.
email. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. And we'll go ahead and move on with our agenda. So item B is discussion and consideration to select one of the following projects to use the approximate $177,237 in the 2021 federal CDBG funding from Arizona Department of Housing Regional Account, possibly consider city parks, revitalization, road infrastructure, fire apparatus, demolition of city-owned buildings, or initiation of a healthcare service coordinator.
So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Terry, go ahead.
So I did want to mention one more thing. I know we're out of the public hearing, but in kind of connection with this, that the city has an opportunity to apply for the special state funds. Is that what they're called? State special funds, and up to $500,000 for certain projects. We have up until December, I believe, Robert, is that correct? To apply, and they would be for the construction season for this time next year. So, and that's part of, it goes through ADOH as well. So that's coming up, and if you wonder why it wasn't in the public hearing, that's why, because Robert's new to his position, and he and I are going to work together to make a better presentation to the council. So, so basically, you've heard our 5 presentations. I mean, 4 of them were good, and 1 of them was really good. So, so you have to select for yourself tonight one of these, and Robert will turn that into ADOH to get final approval for the CDBG. Did you want to add anything, Robert? Yeah.
Yeah, I want to apologize for the misstep on the admin fees because this money comes from the federal government to the state as an allocation. The state takes out their administration fees, and then they put the money to their specific areas. They get their money, they take about 10% out, they set that aside for portion of the funding. They take their administration fee out. Then 85% of it gets dispersed to the COGS, through the COGS to the communities that qualify. The other 15% they use for state special projects. So that's the money that we were just talking about that can be applied separately. So you have the option of choosing a project that you can use $177,000 on and applying for the state special projects fund separately, but you don't have to apply for that. That's the option you have to apply. The 177, I'll say it's a slam dunk, but I mean it's set aside for our region and for the communities within our region, so that money is pretty attainable for you.
Ready, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Rawson, does the special fund that you just talked about, is that an option every time the CDBG funds come to a municipality?
It's a part of the options every year for CDBG.
Oh,
It's a competitive grant process. So
Okay.
these are allocated specifically for our region and are dispersed to the communities within our region under a mod agreement that regional council approves. Some of our communities partner with other communities, so they take the funding every 2 or 3 years, depending on that partnership, so they can gather enough funds to actually do bigger projects. But you always have the option each year to apply for special state special funds. But again, that's a competitive process, and you're not always successful in that.
Okay, thank you.
So Robert, you can, on those funds, you can, we go together with Miami and Superior. That's why we get our CDBG every 3 years. But we can apply independently for this other funding on our own, even if we're in a group of 3?
Yes, you can
Okay.
apply independently as a city.
Okay. So I'll open it up for any comments, any of your,
Mayor, I have a couple questions. So you talked about a couple things. You said that for the victims advocate, there are other funding sources that we could go after, other grant sources we could go after, right?
Right, and it would be partially city funding, and but we would also look for supplemental funding for that.
Okay, and then you mentioned that the type
Type 3?
3 fire truck,
Yes.
you have a proposal in the budget that would come so we could do a lease option so
Yes.
that we could acquire that. And I know that it would generate revenue, so there's a good chance that that would get offset.
Yeah, the symmetry of doing, instead of taking a large lump sum of capital, putting that down, and then having all the revenue collected and go back and collected on the backside, I think it's better to save that lump sum for other projects, use a lease option, and then fund the payment of the lease through the revenues generated by the action of the truck.
Which it will
Yes.
generate pretty easily.
Well, you know, my theory is as soon as we lease this thing, it's going to be like rain and no fire.
You like Oregon, huh?
So my question on the demolition, is having a hole next to the library better than having
I think
a
the
multi
parking.
storage unit?
I think that's a little early in the decision process, but I think Councilman Pastor I know that we're still talking to the library group on that, but I think the benefit would be it's a building that keeps deteriorating. I think there's an advantage to some parking there, but there's not a lot. But then there's also the issue of the wall.
Yeah.
So it's a complex issue with the road building.
I just feel like we spent money on it to do an assessment, then we spent the money to do assessment again, then we spent money to remedy it, and now we want to just talk about tearing it down.
And the option is to invest money into it. But and that's something we can look at, but I believe that, I don't know that the outcome would be that much, it may be a good topic for a future agenda item as to exactly what direction council wants to go with the road building and get the stakeholders involved.
I will tell you that I'm gonna go see Rael, and she's gonna take me on a tour of the building, because I haven't been in it. But it's in pretty bad shape. And, you know, I actually proposed the demolition part of this proposal, but, you know, after the presentation on the pool and where I think most of the council is going on the pool, I think it would be a good investment for us to spend the money on the community center and move that. I mean, I've had a lot of constituents, a lot of residents make positive comments about the discussion we had on the pool and how pleased they were seeing that we were moving in that direction, if we move that direction. And I think it would be a benefit to the city, to the council, and to the community that if we did invest in the community center some more to show that we're moving in that direction. So
And Mr.
I still think it's a viable thing to tear down the two buildings too, because they're gonna end up costing us a lot more to just keep them maintained. But that's another approach we can make later.
If I may, just a second, Mayor. I think that the state special funds would be a really good use for demolition and abatement on those buildings. I think you're going to be running somewhere around 250, 300 by the time you do all the abatement and the site preparation for the building or the parking lot, whichever. And so I think, don't you, Robert? I think that would be a good use for that, or a good application for that. A strong application, anyway.
And Mr. Mayor, members council, to Councilman Shipley's question on the road building, Jeannie did indicate that I think 2 of the abatement studies that were done there were done through grant funding, and I do remember that there's also opportunity. Friends of the Library have some funds that they were looking at investing also, and their investment was contingent on finding out what the condition of the library was, or of the road building was, and so but at least 2 of those studies were grant funded.
Mr. Mayor, if I could.
Go ahead, Jesse.
Thank you. I appreciate every single one of these projects. There's something that needs to get done for the city. But like we've said, there are different funding options for a lot of these. And like it was said earlier, for some reason the parks, they're the low hanging fruit. They get pushed to the side, they never get done. It's still the same play equipment that I played on when I was a child. I mean, we have an economic development team that is bringing people to this community. And yes, our roads need to get done, but we have a half-cent fund there that will help us with that, and maybe next year get back to it. But I do believe that these parks, if we keep bringing people here and they go to these parks and there's no slide, but there's wood in the place of where the slides were, or graffiti, or they've been demolished. I think that it's imperative that we show that we're investing back into the youth of this community. So if I had my option, that's where I would go with it. I think it's imperative that we keep on track with what we're doing.
Mike, any comment?
I agree. First choice of parks, long overdue. Olive Globe and notice that all the parks need to be addressed, but why not start with the big one? And I definitely agree with that, especially if we are gonna, or when we do the pool.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council,
that would be my vote.
And just to reiterate, we do intend to bring back a plan, a proposal to fund the pool.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, for the most part, when we talk about the fire apparatus, I've been championing that for quite some time now. And that would be my primary choice. And knowing that our city staff and our manager has created an avenue for the allocation of that apparatus, then my next choice then is, and I, in agreement with my other council members here that have spoken, would be the city park, because You know, I too have been approached by the general public, you know, basically saying stick to your guns when we talked about the pool. There's a strong will of the community to see that pool resurrected, and I think we're all hearing that. As I said before in another meeting, you know, the city park is a pillar in this community. It has much to offer to kids and family and visitors. And for us to take that opportunity to revitalize what is, you know, I remember as a young man, I wasn't living here, but you know, there was a comment about the ball fields, how they were filled, and there was a lot of movement. I participated in those tournaments and things like that, and the park was just filled with people, and it was obviously a draw, and I think we can get back there. I know we can get back there, and so, you know, after listening and looking at all the options and other funding mechanisms, I think these dollars are an immediate impact, and we'll see the immediate effects. If we put it in the park or parks, because it's instant. Some of these others are preparing for something to happen down the road, and so I think it's nice that if we can allocate dollars today and see the immediate impact today, I think our citizens would appreciate that very much. I know I would. And so my choice is the parks.
Nandel, comments?
Same. I go to the parks. I've
Mariano,
already
comment?
stuck my neck out for District 5. So here's what I hear tonight. A way to fund via other methodology. And my whole career has been based on that. Well, we can't get that dollar this year. We've got to try for it next year. Or a windfall, which is, according to you, Robert, a windfall in some other mechanism. That may be the way we can flesh out this list and turn baseball and racing to make a combination of other grants to support what we need to get done in the city. And I do agree that first and foremost, we need to attack this problem of recreation for our citizens. You asked me last week if I would make a hard decision like that, and in a heartbeat, here we are. The point is that it's an immediate, we have methodology, and, you know, we have to run down those dollars, and then we turn to staff to go find them. But we have a win here, parks, but I am inclined to go for that with parks, with the caveat that I'm going to hit you up for some more parks in 5. Okay, I know they're listening out there. The point is that
Welcome to the club.
I mentioned last week that I play guitar over at the winery, and I asked people, "Have you seen the city? How far out have you gone?" Some of them go all the way to the parks. They know exactly how to get there, and they love that particular venue. Others huff and puff up Round Mountain, and they're never going there again. The point is, they're exploring. They're here. They're looking. And we want them to want to come back. Maybe they'll be in shape next time to go up Round Mountain. That was a piano player, by the way. The point is that, what do we attack first, and can we leverage, as I had to do through a long career in emergency management, no money, but my goodness, go run an exercise with all the agencies. You have to do that. That is the way of life in government in the rural counties. You have to leverage. So my opinion is the easy attack and the easy solution, and a very worthy solution, is to go after parks. And then let's roll up our sleeves and help our department heads find those other grants. Bob, I'm going to be on the phone to you a lot, sir, and let's get them what they need to fill out the other 4 items we'd like to see. That last item, we had that discussion this morning, which I was confused on what the intent was. But Paul in his wisdom held me by the hand and led me through that discussion. So we have ways to solve some of these things over time and windfalls, and we have the opportunity to take care of that in the near future, but also take care of something that we grew up with. You know, I played softball up there at the ball fields, and my stepkids played there, and our family team name was La Familia. So, you know, we all have history there, and we want to revitalize that and bring it back to something. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mariano. Yeah, I also support recreation. You know, with all the things going on coming out of COVID, we really need to see some projects come up that gives our kids some opportunity for recreation. And we have the stakeholders that are interested, I know, with projects in the city. And I think, you know, with this and a combination of other funding, we could make a big difference this summer. And even when we're talking about revitalizing our pool, you know, we're talking 6 months construction, not being available this summer, but next summer. And that's important. That truly is important. We need to get a pool in our community. And I'll just end with a kind of an encounter I had coming to a council meeting right in front of the city hall. A gentleman came up to me. I didn't know who he was. I didn't even know who he knew I was. He said, "Are you the mayor?" And I said, "Yeah." He was talking to his wife out there. He says, "I'm 28 years old and I spent 14 years in a Juvie home and prison, half my life in this. And we need to get something for our kids to do in our community, because they're going to end up like I did, half my life in a prison." And he says, make the right decision and make a change in our community. And we need that now, especially coming out of COVID. So, you know, that kind of, I don't know how come that happened, but it happened today coming into the meeting. So I hope that we can make a difference for our kids in this community.
Mr. Mayor, if there's no other comments or questions, I motion to approve the city parks revitalization as identified in the city capital improvement plan project to use the approximate amount of $177,237 in 2021 federal CDBG or CDBG funding from the Arizona Department of Housing regional account.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approving the project for city park revitalization. Is there any further discussion? I just have one question for Robert. How soon does this funding come available? And can you confirm whether we're going to need that survey or not? Because that does take some time to get that done.
Still on the last cycle. We're still working on the fiscal year 20 cycle that's coming out there. 21, this won't be available till later next year. And as far as the survey goes, it really depends on the project. If you isolate your project to a specific area of the community, then you have to kind of prove that that area of the community qualifies under the 51% low mod income. If you use something that's going to benefit the entire community, then you can use the data that's already out there for the city of Globe, which is usually gathered by the U.S. Census and those types of activities, and you don't have to go do special things for certain things. Town of Miami had to do a special survey most recently, but they're small enough that a lot of that data doesn't come to the census through their other methods. City of Globe should be large enough that if you do something like this, the park, I'm pretty sure you shouldn't have to do a special income survey for that.
Good to hear. Any other discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed. Thank you, everybody.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, just a special thanks to Robert, who picked up after Alan Urban retired from CAG. So he's picking up the slack here, and glad to see you up here. And thanks for coming to the live meeting.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Robert. Thanks, Robert.
Appreciate it.
Needed to for a long time.
So, Mr. Mayor, I gotta teach you guys how to do a pity vote anyway.
I got you.
So we'll go to item C. We got discussion and possible approval of contract agreement CA-2021-0016 with Team Fishel for the El Ranchito waterline improvement, utilizing a cooperative job order contract between Team Fishel and the city of El Mirage for a contract amount not to exceed $113,911.61. This includes an owner's contingency of 15% to be paid from account number 50-80-52200, capital outlay construction, with possible reimbursement from account number 53-80-52100, 2017 WIFA water improvement projects, and give the city manager the authority to execute this contract once all permits are obtained and WIFA has approved the documentation, and request to waive City Code 2-4-10 prior discussion rule. Jerry.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this should be wrap up on our 2017 WIFA projects. In fact, part of this will be funded with our CIP item because we don't have enough WIFA funds left over. So, and then this doesn't get us into 2020, but it should wrap up to 2017. So basically, to just walk the project down, it's a 2-inch water line that's in behind, I think, 12 businesses. Is that right, Vince? 5 businesses, and then including changing a couple meters out at McSpadden and other place. But it's we're asking to use a JOC so we can get started on it right away, and we don't have to go through the whole procurement process. We did an engineer's estimate. Official actually gave us a quote on top of the JOC prices, and we were within what $2,000, and we were, our estimate was $2,000 higher than what they gave us. So we're in good shape as far as the prices go. What's the reason we're not asking the mayor to sign this is because we have submitted the ATC, which is approval to construct, and I keep wanting to call it something else, but ATC, approval to construct, to ADQ. We haven't, we're getting comments back because we're wanting to use a PEX line. They're wanting to use PVC, and we don't like using those glued joints. So we're working that out, and within the week we should be able to get approval back on that, and then we would want the mayor or the city manager to go ahead and sign off on it, and we'll send the notice to proceed out to Fisral. So we're saving 2 weeks here trying to get this job done, get out of this WIFA, because we have other contracts with consultants that last as long as the WIFA funds last. So we're wanting to use them up as quickly as possible. That makes sense.
Questions or comments for Jerry? We have a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we approve contract agreement CA 2021-0016 team official as presented by Public Works.
We got to waive the rules on that, Mike?
Oh, I'm sorry. We could waive the rules, make a motion that we waive the rules in order to.
We have motion and second for approval of the contract agreement. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any abstaining? Motion passed. Thank you, Jerry. Well, you're not going anywhere. Consideration and possible approval of change order number 1 to contract number CS-2021-0007 with CDX Contracting LLC for the Mesquite Sidewalk and Parking Improvement Project in the amount of $15,774.38, $7,189.85 through contract contingency previously approved, and the remaining $8,584.53 to be funded from account number 12-80-52200 with the half-cent excise taxes.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is at Mesquite and Broad Street. It is for the islands that we're creating for the stop signs to make this a 3-way stop. It was added on to the Mesquite project. We had some contingent money in the Mesquite project, but it wasn't enough. And the Mesquite project, we did all the demo ourselves. John's crew did all the demo out there. And because of our commitments to other projects and direction, so we let the contractor do the demo out there. It cost us some additional money, And we're asking that now to be in the amount of 8453 to be funded from 1280 200, which is a half-cent excise. There's enough money left over in that this year. In fact, we'll have some carryover into next year. So win-win. Oh, and John added a tree will today too. So we got to get this thing done because before John has another idea.
Mr. Mayor, if there's no other questions or comments, I motion to approve as read.
Motion and second for approval of the change order number 1. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Do we have any late agenda items?
No late agenda items, Mayor.
Anybody called to the public, Shelley?
Any?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Scheduling of meetings?
And this is where we would like to ask council's availability for a 90-minute or less budget meeting Wednesday, June 2nd. Here, start time, your preference. We can do 6, we can do 5:30. And that would be to go over the line item budget. We would have the packet out Friday afternoon. You'd have time to read, prepare, and then just go through and answer questions through that. And we may be ready to have the court issue back on there too. I don't know.
June 2nd, okay with everybody?
I have to appear via Zoom, but I could.
June 2nd's fine for me.
Okay.
That works.
I'm good. 5:30 or 6?
Doesn't matter, either one.
Want to go 5:30? Let's do 5:30.
5:30 to 7.
Yep.
Okay. Or less.
We're going to hold them to it.
Yeah, just, I wrote it down right here,
Just-
7.
Yeah, gavel it over and walk
Yeah.
out.
Any other scheduling meetings?
For now, no, that would be it.
Future agenda items?
I had a constituent approach me and point out that Gila County has nothing and has no homeless shelters. We're the only county that doesn't have one. He said, "What is the city doing about homeless people?" And I told him that when I was mayor, we had talked about trying to do something, but that was in the middle of the crisis, and we were afraid that we'd do like Sacramento did and draw every homeless person in from 300 miles. But I said that I would bring it up and see if maybe perhaps might be something, a topic for like a town hall where we just vent ideas of what could be done, not done. I don't know. So I thought I'd bring it up.
No, we can add that to the agenda list. Is the full council would like to see a town hall on homelessness or a homeless shelter?
Matter to me, yeah.
Okay.
We do have a group that is currently working with homeless and raising money. I don't know what direction they're going. That might be something we might get some of their information too.
Yeah, I think.
Homeless Coalition?
Presentation.
Yeah.
one time.
Yeah.
Kim Gonzales, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Maybe there'll be a good idea come out of it or something.
Would you like a town hall or start with a presentation or just go straight to town
I
hall?
kind of like the idea of a town hall because then everybody can just put their ideas out, know what else has been done, and
I would think he would, yeah.
And then timing wise, after the passage of the budget would be helpful for staff.
oh yeah,
Okay,
I don't think
I think
there's a
so.
rush, but yeah.
And then we also have the question of the bed tax split.
Yeah.
And bringing something forward on that. And I probably would reach out to the Historical Society to the history on the bed tax split. It's kind of
They know the history. They agree, yeah.
symbolic.
They can make a difference. Okay, do I have a motion to go into E-session?
Motion made. Second.
Motion second to go into executive session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? information?
Yeah, you can take them
And holder?
We'll probably have a full package, but hang on to them, that's fine.
Okay.
It's not, if it, okay, so Mr. Mayor, we're out of E-session.
Okay, we'll bring our regular session back in, and, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion made.
Second.
Motion second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Meeting adjourned.
Danny, thank you.